Hi, good afternoon and welcome back to Luke's World with your host, moi, Jerry Luke. I want to thank you for tuning in. Normally you can hear me on WHCR FM in New York, 90.3, The Voice of Harlem, on Sports Insight. It comes at you every Friday between the hours of 2 and 3:30 on WHCR. The number to call is 1-212-650-6903. Today we're coming to you through the auspices of LSMFT Productions, Leo Farley, our director. And as always, we come to you from the Mark Symczak studio here in New York. So, what do I want to talk about today? Well, it's kind of obvious if you knew what was going on in the last couple of days. But I actually have to call myself a horse's neck is really what it's about. And why am I a horse's neck? Because on Saturday, when the, it's called the, this is kind of lame, when we did the memorial for Mark Symczak, I'm sitting home debating whether or not I should go or not, because I had something else to do, and I didn't know Mark very well, and we had just touched base from time to time, and finally I said, you know, the guy was a righteous dude, and we did talk from time to time. The least I could do is say hello, stick my head in, and share my feelings. So I went, and I was just amazingly surprised, just bowled over actually, at the kind of creativity that that Mark was involved in, and how his life turned out, and how his life started, and what his parents were like, and what his friends were like, and what his artistic friends were like, and his love for the theater, and how you could take his love for painting and transfer it into set design, and sort of have a seamless transition from one to the other, and do some really interesting things. My last contact with him was through Bukowski, and I remember seeing it a couple of times. I saw it at Freddy's, and then I saw it at the Cornelia Street Theater, and he had painted a backdrop, and I knew it was painted, but when you looked at this thing, it looked like signage from an 18th century store that was somehow got transferred to the stage. Now, number one, it didn't look like much. It was sort of green. It looked like oh, I can't think of the name right now. It looked like one of these Tiffany things that women wear around their necks. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, it was very simple and didn't detract at all from the performance. Didn't really add to it. It was sort of like it was sort of like part of the performance, and yet not. And you looked over at it. You looked at Stephen Payne doing the performance, and it was unobtrusive, and yet said what it had to say. And I've always thought of that and marveled at how simple that was. He did. I was in a play at the 29th Street. High Priest of California. I remember that name. I could not remember High Priest. I don't know why. High Priest of California. He did the sets for that, and you felt like you lived in it. It didn't feel like a set at all. And he was always adding something and pulling something away, making it something that that was in his vision. So I wish I had a lot greater interaction with him. The last time I talked to him was at the Cornelia Street Theater, and we just talked for a few minutes. I did not know how sick he was, and I wish I had known and could have talked to him some more. Again, some of the things I gleaned from some of the presentations in the memorial was how kind his parents were to him. They had very little money. They sent him to art school. He had a whole coterie of friends from Pittsburgh that supported him. His paintings were unreal, and intentionally, because they were surreal. That was his shtick. But yet he went from realism to surrealism. There were some things that echoed the 30s and 40s in his paintings. I just marvel at how he knew what he wanted to do and he pursued it. There are very few of us who are gifted with knowing 100% what we want to do, and then we go out and do it. And he knew that. Not only that, he was able to expand on his vision. So he didn't need to exclusively be a painter. He didn't need to exclusively to be a set designer. He was what he was when the urge called for it, and that's what he did. Some of his later paintings that were at the memorial, some of the things that he did just before he passed were just amazing. Some amazing things, amazing colors, amazing perspective. I was touched all around, and he will be missed. He spread it around as well. He worked for basically pennies for tons of theater companies that would probably either paid a lot of money for a set or not have had a set, or would have had a half-baked set. And this is something that I gleaned, from being there on Saturday. So for me to have any doubts about going there was insane, but yeah, I'm a loser like the next guy, so I had to talk myself into it, and I'm glad I did, and it was quite moving. And if the rest of us could have packed that much of a life into the time that he had, it would have been quite miraculous, and we could have patted ourselves on the back. Most of us, if we do 5% of what he got done in his short life, we can consider ourselves lucky. So I'm glad I debated with myself, and I'm glad the self that said go won. So Mark Symczak, the biggest kiss and a hug that I could find in my life is going out to you. Since we have, and we probably should end right here, but due to the fact that I'm a horse's neck and I got to go further, we're going to go on to what happened the next day and continue. So it wasn't such a big deal. The big deal was, do I go to Mark Symczak's deal or do I go hiking? So I said, you know what, why don't you look up and see if there's a hiking date the next day, which is what I did. So I went hiking the next day. So chalk that off to the Luke's insanity, and we're going to move forward. Anyway, the whole thing was an adventure. How to get from my house to somewhere in Sloatsburg in the nick of time. I'm leaving my house. I miss the train. I wait for the next train. I get the train. I get to where I got to buy tickets, and there's a long line to buy tickets. Okay, so I'm hoping that I can get the tickets, but what's in front of me are people with this kind of comp deal where they have a piece of paper. The person behind the glass has to do something with the paper. There's 10 people online. My bus is leaving in 5 minutes. I don't understand why they don't have a better system, but they don't. I get to where I'm going. I get my ticket. I get a discount. I run to the bus. I make it in with 1 minute to spare. I can't believe it. Get on the bus. The bus is freezing. I put on 9 layers. I finally get to where I'm going. This whole trip takes 45 minutes, but it's a lot of agita for 45 minutes. I don't understand why, but there you are. Okay, so we go hiking. This is the first time I've done an official hike with this AMC group. This is a 9-mile march. So I'm getting the signal to cut this puppy short, so let me get the salient points here. So we go on this march. People do what they want to do because a newbie is leading it, and I wish the newbie had, laid down the law, but the newbie knows the next time to lay down the law. There were a lot of fun things to do. At a certain point, I thought my heart was going to explode after doing 9 miles. My ankle's killing me now. Getting home was a real trip. I'm going to end it with this. I'm not going to end it now. I'm going to keep talking. I do not understand the Secaucus station. I do not understand who laid that puppy out. I do not understand why, when you've already bought a ticket and you're on the train, now you got to wave that ticket in the middle of the station on another entrance. Why do you have to do that? I wind up getting the train to New York. The train was about to close its doors. I come flying down the stairs into the train. That's freezing as well. The train going to New York was freezing. The bus going to Sloatsburg was freezing. The train coming back from Sloatsburg was freezing. There's a freezing marathon out there. But anyway, I had a good time. I think. My ankles are barking. But it was quite a weekend, and I have to apologize for being a horse's neck, but that's just the way it is. That's who I am, and I'm so glad that I went to Mark's memorial. I cannot tell you to see how somebody could live a life, a creative life, and grow and be fearless. That's an amazing thing. And at the same time, I guess in my own way, I try to mimic that by doing things that I need to do for myself, as hard as they are sometimes. And maybe that's the lesson that I learned from Mark, which is do what you need to do when you need to do it, and just go for it, and not worry about anything, because that's all you have left. All you have really are your own ideas and your own ideals, and if you don't pursue that, who are you? My name is Jerry Luke. This has been Luke's World. We'll see you on the radio.